We received questions about the firstborn child in a family and karma. Stay tuned to find out more. Honey,
Yes.
will you please tell us what the question is that one of our viewers asked in regard to firstborns and karma?
Do you want to first preempt me saying this as to why you're asking me to say the question?
Because the way the question was written was a bit confusing, and you have a very good way of always...
No. I'll give my viewpoint as to what I think the question means is what it is.
Okay.
And we'll go through it step by step, like piece by piece. So the first part of the question asks, well, we've discussed karma between a firstborn child and the parents, right? Either both parents or one of the parents. Let me also preempt this by saying that it's very important for people to understand that when we say firstborn, it applies to also gender. For example, you could have two kids, one male, one female. They're both considered firstborns because it's your firstborn female child and your firstborn male child.
Oh.
So just so that we get that out there, because I don't think that we've really
I was not
explained
aware
that
of
before.
that.
That's correct. So you could literally wind up having a firstborn that you get along just fine with, a female, but then the male you don't get along with. It's still a firstborn. It's your firstborn son. Okay? So now, let's go back to the question.
Yes.
So now, the question is, okay, so here is the mom, she's expecting, right? But for whatever reason, the mom decides that it's not a good time to birth this child. So she decides, or they decide, right, as the expected parents, to abort the soul.
Or even if the father's not in the picture, the woman just decides she's going to abort the soul.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the question is, how does that affect karma between the firstborn and the parent? How would you answer that question?
Well, I think that the parent is creating karma with that child because they're basically saying, I don't want you right now. And the kid, hopefully that soul understands, but if they don't, then that's creating karma, I would think.
We're talking about karma between the firstborn and the parent, not just creating karma.
Okay, so then the karma between the firstborn and the parent is not going to get balanced because the child is not being born.
Exactly. So
Okay.
there is no firstborn, is the point.
Okay,
Because the child isn't born.
got it.
You only become a firstborn after you're born and you're alive.
Once you enter the physical world.
Exactly.
Got it.
Right? So the
Okay.
stuff you were about to go into is irrelevant. That's not important to answer this question about creating karma between the two. It's about the firstborn and the parent.
Well,
Do you follow?
I follow, but then I have the question, okay, so even with an abortion though, that's a forced birth, a forced delivery.
That's not the
That's
point.
not the same thing?
Firstborn. The key term is born.
Born and continues to live. Okay.
Right? So don't make it technical. Don't make it complicated. It's
Just a
firstborn.
question. Okay.
Okay? So that's the first part of the question. So if the soul is never born, then there is no firstborn
Okay.
because the soul was terminated. Right?
Right. The body of that soul.
The birth never took place. Right, the body, that's correct. The birth never took place. So that's the first part of the question.
Okay.
Now, going back now to what you were saying, or you alluded to, but then is karma created? Of course, because he just killed a soul. He killed one of God's child, or one of God's children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to answer for, but that's not what the question is asking. It's asking about karma between the firstborn and the parent.
Right.
And that's what we're addressing. So there would be no karma there as far as the firstborn and the parental balance because the child was never born.
Okay. So
I know I repeated it like 2 or 3 times. I just
Yes.
want to get it as clear as possible.
okay. So then, would it be the same situation then for a miscarriage since the child is
Well,
not born?
We're going through the question step by step, right?
Oh, got it.
I thought I was asking the questions.
I thought you asked the question.
No, I
okay.
didn't ask that. So now the next part of the question is, what if it's a miscarriage, right? So the mom didn't do it on purpose. At least she doesn't think so,
Uh-huh.
right? And I say that because we have a video about miscarriages, and
Mm-hmm.
someone can watch that to see why I would state it that way. But so now it's a miscarriage. Is the karma between the firstborn and the parent balanced, or how does that affect the karma between the firstborn and the parent?
Well, based on what we had just talked about, since the child was not born, then that firstborn karma is not there.
Exactly, right? We come right back to the same thing.
Uh-huh.
The child was never born.
Mm-hmm.
Got it?
Right.
So we're back now. You can say, oh, yeah, miscarriage, but then this thing came out, but that's not considered birth, is it? According to
Because it died in
medical term.
utero.
Exactly.
The baby died in utero
That's
and then
correct.
the body got rid of it.
All right.
Okay.
So now the third part of the question is, so what if it's what a long question. So what if it's stillborn?
Right.
Now what?
That's a
You're
very
the one
good
answering
question.
the questions.
Oh, I am. Well, that's one where, to me, it's kind of iffy because if they're monitoring the baby, the heart rate is there, everything is going great, but then as soon as the baby comes out the birth canal, the baby is dead, I would think that the karma might be balanced between the parent and first child. Maybe that was the
So-
karma.
So how so? How is that the karma?
Because maybe it was that the parent had to go through having a live child that died immediately after being born.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I don't know. There could be a lot of reasons for that.
Right, we're not going to spend time on that.
Right.
We don't know. We don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference? Born.
Right. The child was delivered.
Exactly.
Came out of the birth canal.
Right? So in that case, yes, there was karma there between that firstborn and the mom. In that case, it would be the mom, or it could also be the dad, actually, depending on how he's impacted.
Mm-hmm.
And that karma had to be balanced by the soul dying as soon as it's born. Again, we're not going to spend time as to why that's so. That there could be so many scenarios of
Mhm.
that, right?
Right.
So we're not going to deal with that. Okay. That's answered, correct?
Yes.
Do you have another question based on that or something?
No.
Okay. So then the other part of the question is, well, what if the mom has the child
Uh-huh.
and then something about adoption? She gives him
She
for
gives
adoption?
up the baby for adoption.
She gives up the
it's
baby
her
for adoption.
firstborn child, and she gives
Right.
it up for adoption.
So what happened to the karma now between the child and the mom
Well,
or the parents? in that
then
case?
it wouldn't be balanced because the parents, the birth parents, gave up the child, I would think.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
What if the soul's contract or the soul's purpose was to be born or given birth by that parent or by
Mhm.
those parents so that they could balance karma from a previous life,
Okay.
and then they had to give up that child to the parents that are supposed to raise that child in this lifetime.
Okay. Well, that's a different scenario. Yes, that
Right.
could happen. Yep.
So they
I could see
literally
that.
would have done their job by giving birth to the soul. That's all the mom was supposed to do,
Mm-hmm.
was to give birth to the soul and then have the soul get adopted so that the soul can go and fulfill his or her journey or purpose in this lifetime.
Got it.
See, that's why if people don't understand the spiritual realm, they're thinking that there's something wrong with having or giving birth to a child and then giving up the child. It's better to just abort the soul
Mm-hmm.
because they don't understand the law of karma. But what if whomever that person is that got pregnant, what if her job or her role in this lifetime was really just to give birth to the soul and then hand it off to the parents that are supposed to care for this soul. And just by doing that, this mom has done her job and she's balanced karma with that soul. But by not doing that and by aborting the soul, then of course she's creating more karma, and then she has to go through that again. This time it could be even more challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just by giving birth and then giving up the soul for adoption, it actually could be what was supposed to happen in a lifetime. And then the karma is balanced. Now, again, when people understand it, then they want to go and find their child, and they're lonely and they're sad because mass consciousness teaches you, how could you do that? How could you give up your kid?
Mm-hmm.
That's wrong, and you're such a bad parent.
Right.
Because they don't fully understand how the law of karma works. I'm not saying it's a good thing to give up your child and you just have a whole bunch of kids and go give them up, because that's not what we're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we're saying is circumstances could occur where that's what was supposed to happen in this lifetime between those different souls.
Okay. That makes sense. So, what if the person who gave up that child for adoption, okay, obviously you had mentioned in the beginning of the video, whether the gender is male or female, that's your firstborn. Your firstborn male, your firstborn female is a
Right.
firstborn.
Firstborn for each gender, yes.
Okay. So then, that answers my question. Because I was going to say, what if that mother who just gave up that child for adoption has another child?
Mhm.
Well, it would depend on the gender then, if it's a firstborn.
That's correct.
Got it.
Right, because let's say, for example, the one that was given for adoption, the gender is female,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next child is a female, it's not a firstborn, because she already had a female child.
Got it.
But if it's a male, then it's a firstborn male. And so there's karma to balance there as well.
So how about a couple that both had previous marriages, or one had a previous marriage, so there are already kids involved for one parent,
Mhm.
and then the person gets remarried, and now they have a child together.
You can answer that.
So then the firstborn for the one parent, because it'd be their firstborn child, would be their karmic child? Or would it be for both of them?
Both of them. Remember, it's a union, it's a marriage.
Okay, so that
So
new
they're having-
marriage
exactly
means that they
creating
have...
firstborn.
Okay,
Right? It's the marriage. It's not just the person. So that's a very good point. But we didn't point that out. We just talked about individuals.
right.
But for marriage, that's why marriage is so important, right? Because then in the marriage, if there are any births, then the birth belongs to both individuals, not just one. If it's a single parent, then it's that parent, but then the other parent is there as well. So it's still two. It still takes two, is the point.
Right.
So it's not even a marriage, it's the fact that there's a male and a female that's involved.
It's a new couple
That's correct.
creating a child.
That's correct. So it doesn't
Okay.
have to be a marriage, I take that back.
Okay. All right. That answers my question.
Does that answer the full question? Do you know?
Yes, I believe it does.
You want to just, you'll get out of the camera a little bit, but how about if you grab the phone and then take a look at the question just to make sure we have it covered. And you don't have to read it out loud because it might confuse everybody.
I think we've covered it. Yep.
Okay, all right. Well, thanks for asking the question.
Yes.
And anybody else, if you have any other question or a follow-up to this question, please let us know. And I think you'll probably put the link for the abortion and miscarriage video.
Yes,
on
I'll
this,
put
so
links
we
for
can
those
see that,
videos.
right.
Mhm.
That explains some more, right?
Correct.
All right. You want to do your closing?
See you in the next video. Remember to subscribe and like this video. Join the Facebook group 190 Vision to connect with others on the same journey. Get help by visiting our website 190vision.com. Support the 190 Vision mission by clicking on the donate button, which is at the bottom of each page of our website.